sometimes very, very vile and dangerous and very, very unfortunate. I mean, most politicians have suffered this. And I recall former President Jandam was a victim of this constant linkage between himself and his family members owning businesses and transacting businesses in this country. Today, I see people trying very hard also to link Mr. Ibrahim to his brother. And sometimes it's painful and it's difficult to take. In this case, I don't have absolutely no evidence to the effect that Mr. Ibrahim wants to buy a Valco. I don't.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them, yupo.
Okay. Oh.
Well, I mean, I heard you read the Gridco statement.
Yes.
And one of the things I was looking for was the areas covered by this blackout. And the statement was silent on that.
Yes.
So we're all wondering whether it's just an Accra phenomenon or that it spreads to other parts of the country. From the contacts that I've made, I'm sure that this blackout stretches all the way down from Mampong, Akwapim. It could go further.
But
from the information that I have.
Ashanti region is down.
Okay.
I've also heard others from Tamale who have also reported some
So
issues.
it is possible that it's a nationwide blackout.
Indeed it is.
Okay. So I'm just wondering why the Gridco statement did not give us the full extent, of this blackout. If it's a nationwide blackout, it's even more troubling. Okay. Now, as we sit here, there's no indication of the cause of this blackout. It could be just a technical problem. It could be the result of carelessness or recklessness. It could be the result of sabotage.
Yes.
It can be anything. We don't know. We can't comment. So all we can say is that whatever the cause is, that some efforts are made as quickly as possible to restore electricity. Because, look, everything hinges on the supply of electricity. I mean, my brother Collins is talking about barbers and hairdressers and so on. That's not the problem. People could die as a result of this.
Yeah.
People whose life depends on ventilators could die as a result of this. And these days, even here when we came this morning, it took a while to kickstart the generator. It took quite a while. Imagine that there was a clinic or hospital here and somebody was in a critical condition. That person could have died.
Easily,
So electricity supply has become so critical to the preservation of not just human life, but the entire national life. I think we ought to do some more serious things to keep the lights on. Accidents are inevitable. There are technical faults which we cannot anticipate or may not be able to anticipate. But whatever it is, we need to do everything possible to keep the lights on all the time, because it's so vital, for our very survival. I also appreciate the point which the Honourable Member of Parliament has already made about how hardworking these engineers and so on at Gridco are. And, we need to appreciate the hard work of all of them, all the people in all the sectors who struggle against odds to keep us alive, who struggle against odds to keep systems running and so on. So, what can we say?
Right.
Just to hope and wish that the engineers, all the people on the ground would do the needful and ensure that the lights come on as quickly as possible. Honourable reminded me of some time ago when the water level of Akusumbo went down.
Yes.
And the nation was faced with very severe threat
But we prayed.
of blackout.
We prayed.
And you had all these, your bishops and archbishops going to stand over the Akosombo Lake to pray, and God didn't listen to them. You know. And this morning, Honorable is offering prayers for those who are working on this blackout. I hope that, unlike the archbishops and bishops, God will listen to you. I don't know what the magic is. But even when the archbishops went to pray, nothing happened.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. How is he?
Yes, sir.
What does this mean?
No, that's what it means. You know, I mean, we had power crisis before, and we had all of this cassock wearing, head covered archbishops speaking in tongues and so on, some speaking in ordinary language, who took to Akosombo, stood over the dam and offered prayers.
Right.
And God refused to listen to them. Now we have a blackout, and the Honorable Member of Parliament, whom I'm sure does not speak in tongues,
Yes.
who I'm sure perhaps has not been to heaven and back, as some bishops claim, you know, and so on. He's offering prayers.
Okay.
And I'm wondering whether, if God did not listen to the archbishops, the cassock-wearing archbishops, he would listen to the Honorable Member of Parliament.
Yes.
I don't know. Just hoping that God will listen to him.
Well, Honorable is a very religious man.
So he's religiously more powerful than the cassock-wearing archbishops.
You never know.
Oh, okay. Master, no problem.
Uncle Kwesi. All right.
I mean, you know, sanitation is an important subject.
Yeah.
And, what I'm worried about is the false narrative that we suffered the recent flood because of insanitary conditions. It's not true.
You mean there's no correlation?
There's none
relationship.
whatsoever. You understand? Anyway, it's okay.
Anyway. Collins.
Yes, so
Yes.
I'm happy.
Valco.
I'm coming. The assurances from Jifa.
Yeah.
It's quite refreshing that it's not damaged. That was quite significant, and that I think is just
But the impression God was that it was damaged.
Yes. So that for me is quite refreshing. That the system itself is not damaged, and it's a very rare occurrence. And as she said, the engineers are working on it. I'm just hoping that as quickly as possible, we should be back on stream. Valco, you know, I'm from the right.
Yeah.
You know, from my ideology,
Yes.
I'm a center-right person. My political lineage, and so
Private sector is the engine of growth.
absolutely. So we don't have too much issue with the private sector. I'm sure Ankwesi himself, in his narration, is not against the private sector. I have always held the view that the private sector has a significant role to play. But I also believe that there are some very strategic national assets that must necessarily be handled by the state in the interest of the general public, because the private sector mostly have a motive, which is profit-driven. So for very vital states agencies, I would prefer government leading that. Ghana Water, a very important and priceless product, water. Such institutions, for me, can be handled by the private sector. And then Ankwesi talked about tough skin, Ibrahim. And Ankwesi is the way we've done our politics in this country. Sometimes very, very vile and dangerous and very, very unfortunate. I mean, most politicians have suffered this. And I recall former President Jandam was a victim of this constant linkage between himself and his family members owning businesses and transacting businesses in this country. We had a book called Agyapa. I'm not too sure if, surprisingly, nobody's talking about the book any longer. And it was beautifully couched and written. And anytime there's an incident, they reference the book. and a whole society was christened the Achim Mafia. Very interesting. Today, I see people trying very hard also to link Mr. Ibrahim to his brother. And sometimes it's painful and it's difficult to take. In this case, I don't have absolutely no evidence to the effect that Mr. Ibrahim wants to buy Valco. I don't. But here we are. The kind of politics we've practiced over the years makes it quite convenient for other people to draw that linkages. In fact, this whole linkage started about 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months, when I heard that they're trying to link the CEO, who happened to be in his private capacity a lawyer to Mr. Ibrahim.
As the CEO of Gyadek.
Absolutely. Now the chief executive of Gyadek. And the linkage then started that, hey, he's been placed there strategically to ensure that the bauxite extractive industry are linked to this particular person. So yes, I know Mr. Ibrahim has a tough skin, but I tell you, people have gone through a lot. And it's unfortunate, I must be very frank, it's unfortunate that the fact that your brother or your relative is in a certain position does not debar you from engaging in your own private businesses, you know, especially when you go through the right processes. That for me is the catchword. Once you go through all the right processes, I don't think it should bar you from executing your private business. It's
because otherwise, what we're doing, and I think you're right, both parties are guilty of this. Actually, what then happens is that once you have a relative who assumes a certain political office, then it's like automatically you can't do government business. And that's not right. The person is Ghanaian too.
But I'm saying that it happened, and it was a huge conversation. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, presidential candidate, suffered same with his brother, the contractor. It's all over the place.
But recall, Collins,
all over the place.
Actually, in order not to sound as though I am laying blame or I'm apportioning blame, but actually, this thing got to a head under Mahama 1. You recall? Under Mahama 1, John Mahama 1 from 2013, because I noticed you're not trying to say who did more, who did less, but both of them.
All I'm saying is that Mr. Ibrahim is suffering from this.
Yes. Remember, he suffered before.
Yes, he's going through it because it's become something that we do to our political space.
Yes.
You know, and we accuse each other of involving in all kinds of things, and it becomes a little bit difficult at times. Valco. I was very young when I heard of Valco. At the time, you know, Ghana electricity, you know, I heard a lot of stories. I'm happy Uncle is giving us a certain background.
Yeah.
Uncle, the truth of the matter is that from what I know, I think plans are far advanced to bring in a private or a strategic investor.
It's almost a fait accompli.
Plans are far advanced.
They must be reversed.
Well,
don't
maybe. I'm saying that what I know is that plans are far advanced in this particular discussion. In fact, this whole ICU alarm sounding started some time ago. I'm sure you are aware when meetings began to start. Chief executives of state agencies traveling abroad to have discussions and all that. So plans are really far advanced in this whole process of bringing in a strategic investor to come and assist with the operations of Valco. I have not seen the terms, but I'm a little bit struck about the 70%. If you give 70% to a private individual, technically, what does it mean?
The person owns it.
He owns it.
You might as well give 100%.
Of course. I mean, if he owns 70%, he's going to control the board. He's going to control. I'm not too sure anybody who has a 70% interest will not be interested in chairing the board, having his own chief executive and all that. So, in all intents and purposes, this is clearly giving the company to somebody else to run. And then when there's profit, he gives you maybe your 30%. That's how I see it. I'm a little bit struck by the percentage that Ankwesi mentioned, the 70%.
There are two pieces of information as far as this is concerned. There's one that says that that's Gyadek is looking to offload 51% to the strategic investor. But the workers are saying no, what they have seen, what they know, which is on paper, is 70%.
So
Is Giadex work against that of the workers?
I've not seen the document myself.
Because it's part of the petition they've actually...
Okay, I'm sure as time goes on, all these transactions maybe would have to come to Parliament for parliamentary approval and all that.
Yeah. But be that as it may,
at that point,
there's a conversation about giving majority shares to somebody.
Yes, 70% is quite on the high side. I don't know how much money the investor is bringing in.
Well, we need 600.
What is important in this kind of transactions is transparency. Clearly, for me, the principle of bringing in a private individual now is settled. The government has taken a decision on that, and I know discussions have gone on, and we're on the verge of
sign it off.
I have some information to that effect, and I'm not surprised. That is why the ICU is beginning to sound the alarm. Of course, ideologically, Ankwesi, everybody who's listened to him over the years has not been so excited about private participation.
Of course. He's been
over the years. He's been consistent about that.
And that's why I raised the issue of ideology at the beginning. But he thinks that, this matter is
been consistent about that. He's been very consistent about that. I'm saying that the decision to offload, for me, from what I know, it's gotten to the climax. Now, in situations like that, what is important is transparency. It's very, very important. It is extremely important that every single detail in this whole transaction is made available to the general public for scrutiny. This is a state asset. At least for all I know, Ankwesi is now bringing in a very interesting revelation that documentations confirming that Ghana has the ownership now is in doubt.
From Kaiser Aluminium.
Yes, from Kaiser. Because I recall some time ago we were told that we've acquired the interest.
Yes.
The state has acquired the interest. So from my thinking, until Ankwesi brought this latest information, Valco now is in the hands of government.
Yeah.
And so it's the state assets. And so if the state wants to offload part of its interest in an asset belonging to all of us, it's just fair that you open up and give us the full details. It makes it easier for think tanks, CSOs, parliament, other interested parties to make inputs into the whole discussion. That makes the discussion more open and more transparent than what we are seeing now. Guidec is saying they are going to give 51%. Workers are saying no, what they are saying is 70%. That kind of contradiction makes it difficult for everybody to be comfortable. And so my appeal is for, if this is the decision of government, and this is the decision of government should come clean, open up the discussion. Let's have a very transparent and honest discussion about where we are at this particular point in time. If government does not have the money, liquidity, $600 million now to push into Valco, and therefore we have to resort to a private individual coming in to assist. Let the terms be made public to everybody to scrutinize and analyze. And I'm sure at that point, there will be some clarity. Because he also brought out some options that are available to government. His point is that why go bring an individual to give you 600 million when we have an asset, almost 48 billion. Why don't we ride on this particular asset, go to these banks and have it, raise this amount of money? Some people would even ask, why not float it on shares? Why not go to the stock market? Ghana's stock exchange. Get this SARS, all these finance companies to put together a paper. We know how viable bauxite is. And from all the documents we've cited, this is a very lucrative industry. Put it on the stock market. Let people show interest. Let Ghanaians own it. And I'm sure we'll be able to raise that amount of money. That's also an option that's available to government. But me that it may, Ankwesi, I am asking for transparency in this whole issue. From where I come from, ideologically, I am not essentially against a private participation. If that is going to help to bring more efficiency, quality of service and all that, I don't have any problem. He cited some examples in history where we handed over state assets to private individuals and it didn't work. Yes, that's a fact. Some didn't work, but I'm not too sure that alone is enough to say we're stopping that process of engaging private sector in other government business. So I'm calling for transparency. Let's guide the Valco. Let's be open about the transaction. And I'm sure when it is open and everybody begins to give their inputs, at the end of the day, we'll have a final document that will be acceptable to all Ghanaians.
I think that one institution that must also be speaking to this should be SIGA, the State Interest and the Governance Authority, because they also have oversight over some of these institutions.
Yes, they have oversight over all state normal, all those state institutions.
So a few things we want to know. One, is it true? Can they confirm from what they know that the government intends to offload some shares of Valco, or they're looking for a strategic partner? And what quantity or quantum are we looking at, and how much? Do you understand what I'm saying? What is SIGA's own?
Well, unfortunately, this is way beyond SIGA.
That's the point I was coming to make.
This is way beyond SIGA.
That's the point I was going to make. Decision.
Way beyond.
Decision.
How do you mean?
This is not a decision.
It's not a SIGA matter.
At that level. You see, what we need to appreciate is the place of an integrated aluminium industry in the whole industrialization program of Ghana, which is key to our survival as a state.
Yes.
You understand? So this is a big decision. There's a really big decision. And this is why it's important for us to take the right decisions and avoid pettiness, avoid personal interests and so on. Because our future sits on this. You know, well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I get so worried. Sometimes I ask myself, policymakers, do they understand the institutions that they have been selected to manage and their relevance to the health of the whole country and so on? So I just wonder. You see, because if you're sitting on the Valco board, you ought to know the place of Valco, you know, and the integrated aluminium industry.
In the economic, the whole economy,
The whole economy can sit on this. So you don't make decisions lightly. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It seems to me that decisions are made so lightly, you know, I don't know.
Right. So let me. So Kwabena Sapon, I'm still you know, Kwabena Sapon used to be a regular on Master Boiling Point on Oman back in the day. Yes, and at the time I think it was the host. Yes. Now he sent this message. He says the question of Ghana owning 100% of Valco is not in doubt. If my memory serves me right, we were paid $17 million by Kaiser for their 90% shares during Kufuor's time. The other shareholder is Alqua. Is it Alqua also? It says they gave us 10% later on. My issue though with that is that
this was in the media, all of us said this. I'm saying that there's no documentation to support that.
Yes, obviously, I want to, for instance, understand whether the rights people have been asked the question about where the documentation for the how do you call it
acquisition
of Valco, which somebody should be answering that question.
But that document shouldn't be difficult to find.
Yes.
If indeed it did happen.
Yes.
That's the point Ankwesi is making.
Yes.
If indeed that happened,
so
these are documents that should be with even the possession of Valco.
Exactly.
At the Attorney General.
It's not with Valco, it's not with the sector minister, it's not with the presidency, it's not with every. It's something very strange.
Mercer, but it's not unusual. It's not unusual. I interviewed the Minister of Interior, Honorable
Muntaka Obar.
And he told me that on assumption of office, he was looking for contract documents on the renovation of the police hospital. They couldn't find it anywhere.
God, this is serious. Eh?
No, I'm telling you. I mean, I interviewed him. He said he assumed office. There were bills to pay and so on. And he was looking for the documents on the contract. They looked everywhere, they couldn't find it. Eventually, they came by some information and so on, which suggested or who showed that the contract sum had been overpaid by, I think, £48 million or so. I don't believe it. I mean, I interviewed him only 3 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I see.
So this question of documentation and so on is not...
Uncle, I'm just saying we shouldn't countenance this. We shouldn't countenance this. We must not normalize it. If you have been given a job to do and you're supposed to be doing some documentations, we must make sure that you do that. If you don't do it, you must be punished. Because we can't continue like this. Anyway, so Collins, I know we'll spend a bit of time looking at the budget, the media budget review, which was presented by the Honorable Finance Minister, Dr. Kessel Atuforsen, because the law says he should do so. And so he did just that, of course, for and on behalf of the President. You have described the presentation in different ways. Kwashiorkor, fiscal gymnastics, is, talk plenty, do little. There's all kinds of, adjectives that you've used to describe with the presentation and also the content of the budget. But we will spend some time on that. But there's an issue here which lies at the heart of our economy anyway. Because if we are able to get it right, the economy will benefit. And it has to do with Valco. Back and forth. We're not too sure what to do with Valco. There's all kinds of proposals on the table. And it's not the first time this matter has come up. But it looks like the mention of the brother of the president and allegedly being interested in it. Of course, his aides have come out to say it is not true. And I don't have any reason to doubt what Rafiq Mahama has put out there by way of public information, and that Ibrahim Mahama has never expressed even any interest in acquiring shares of Valco. But be that as it may, as for the issue about getting a strategic partner, as is being termed, to come take some stakes in Valco is still a matter which is on the table. Okay. Now, Elvis Darko's News Center has done a comprehensive report, starting from the Ibrahim Mahama matter and the subsequent denial, and ICU's stance on Valco. They are saying, no, if you hive off any shares of Valco to anybody, we will protest. We will not agree. And actually going back into history, what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's vision for setting out Valco was. Very, very interesting piece of article that is put out there on page 6 and 7. So I won't read everything because there's a lot, okay? But I'll nitpick. I'll basically cherry pick some portions of it. But I'll make sure that, it all comes together and makes sense. So it says, Ibrahim Mahama denied Valco takeover. But what is the way forward for the $600 million investment required if workers are opposed to a strategic investor? Now, so the editor of the paper himself is the one who has authored this article. Now it says, the controversy surrounding the proposed strategic investment process for the Volta Aluminium Company Limited, Valco, has intensified, with the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation, GIADEC, and businessman Mr. Ibrahim Mahama separately rejecting claims linking him to a planned acquisition of the state-owned aluminium smelter. Now, the two denials came after some workers of Valco, during a protest march in Tema, alleged that Mr. Mahama was behind efforts to acquire the company. While GIADEC described the allegations as false, misleading, and without any factual foundation, Mr. Mahama also dismissed the claims as malicious and deliberately calculated to damage his reputation. Okay. Now, while GIADEC described the allegation as false, misleading, and without any factual foundation, okay, I've looked at it, sorry. So the development comes at a time when the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Ghana, has petitioned President Mahama to intervene and halt what it described as a proposed sale of a 70% equity stake in Valco. The union argues that Valco remains a strategic national asset and should remain under full state ownership. Okay, so they are implacably against it. Now, let's talk about the $600 million required to retrofit and modernize Valco. Now, the estimated capital required to retrofit and modernize the smelter is about $600 million, a sum government cannot afford in the current macroeconomic environment. Under the structure, Giadec would retain 49% shareholding. That's of course Giadec, so that's Ghana, isn't it? While the investor would hold 51%. The performance-based partnership is designed to revive a strategic national asset and unlock Ghana's $48 billion bauxite potential. Now, Valco's valuation stands at approximately $130 million, while the company carries total debt of about $450 million. Total debts.
That's nothing. In the industry, it's not.
Industry, okay. Now, beyond the immediate turnaround, Giadec estimates that developing a world-class export-scale aluminium refinery will require $2.5 billion. Okay. Overall, the full integrated aluminium value chain is projected to demand investment of approximately $5 billion. Okay. Ghana is estimated to possess 920 million tons of bauxite deposits, conservatively valued at $48 billion. 6 mining leases have already been granted. The proposed investment will fund engineering, procurement, and construction of 1.5 to 2.5 million metric tons per annum alumina refinery, transforming domestic bauxite into high-value, alumina. Giadec categorically denied reports suggesting that Valco was being sold to Ibrahim. So it goes on and on. Ibrahim I've already talked about, so I'm not going to bother with that. Now, the ICU has formally petitioned President Mahama to stop what it describes as the proposed sale of 70% equity stake in Valco. The petition was presented by ICU General Secretary Mr. Morgan Ayewene to the Tema Metropolitan Chief Executive Madam Ibrahim after workers embarked on a protest march through major streets in Tema. The union argued that Valco remains a strategic national asset and should continue to be owned by the state because of its importance to Ghana's industrial development agenda. And that information available to the union indicates that Giadec is progressing with plans to transfer the 70% equity stake in Valco to Arch Holdings Consortium. The union warned that such a transaction could permanently affect and alter the ownership structure and control of the company despite opposition from workers and organized labor. Now, they are encouraging the president on May Day not to remain silent when state-owned enterprises were being mismanaged because workers often suffer the consequences when such institutions collapse. So they are responding to what the president once said on May Day. Now, it goes on and on and on, and there's an appeal to organized labor to come on board and so on. Now, this is the background. So Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, identified the integrated aluminum industry as a key pillar of the country's industrialization agenda, with Ghana already operating a bauxite mine at Awaso. Nkrumah viewed Kaiser Aluminium proposal to establish an alumina refinery and Valco smelter as a major step towards creating a complete aluminium value chain. The establishment of Valco was also central to the development of the Volta River project, which led to the construction of the Kosombo hydroelectric dam. I recall that at some point, Mr. Kwesi Pratt briefly walked us through the history, but unfortunately he's here. And they talk about jobs, export, and industrial growth if we keep Valco, and so on and so forth. They've given us all the reasons why we must keep Valco and not sell some of its shares to anybody.
Now, so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.